Welcome back to In the Ring with Termite and Mr. S. Mr. S, we got another. I'm getting pretty good at saying that.
You are getting good at saying that.
You know, we always have such good ones, but we do have another good one.
It's like I want to think of a different way to say it, but how else can you say it? And this is just another great story.
Another great story, and I've been really excited about this one. I got to meet her, and we'll find that out in just a minute because that's going to get into our story.
Yeah, we won't give away too much. But it's going to be the story of a lot of ups and downs.
And a lot of overcoming.
A lot of overcoming life and death situations.
Yeah. And it's going to be real today.
It's going to be intense.
It's going to be intense.
But we're going to allow her to, I'm not going to steal any of the thunder, so let's go ahead and roll the introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event on In the Ring with Termite and Mr. S. Stepping into the ring tonight is a woman who didn't just survive the fight, she engineered her way through it. From the streets of Houston to homelessness, motherhood, and battles most never see, she turned pain into precision, becoming an elite endurance athlete, top competitive shooter, and a master architect shaping the world around her. She's built a legacy not just for herself, but for the next generation fighting their way out. Ladies and gentlemen, the architect of the fight, Mai Phan.
All right. I've been waiting for this one. Good to see you.
It's good seeing you too.
I've been so excited about this. I get excited about different things. On your story, I get excited about everything. And then being able to know you, I mean, I don't ever shut up to him. I've just told him all about you. So get us started, Mr. S.
You know, let's just jump right into it. You know, hopefully that introduction gave people a little bit of idea of what they're about to hear. But let's start at the very beginning. You're from Houston, born in Houston, but obviously you have immigrant family. So what was like, tell us, you know, what your family situation was like getting raised in Houston.
My father, he was a pilot during the Vietnam War back in 1970. So during the Vietnam War, my mother refuged off a boat. So she came here through Japan. Japan took them off the ships, and then they migrated in California. And then my mother and my father met in Texas, Houston, Texas. My father he became a pilot for the U.S. Air Force.
Wow.
Yeah, and so, you know, unfortunately, they have lost some family members during the war, but they rebuilt their life here in the U.S., so it's very different coming from a communist country. I was born and raised in Alief, which is southwest of Houston, and I've lived here most of my life. Yeah.
So let me make sure I understand. So your family is from Vietnam?
My mom and dad.
Your mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
And your dad fought in the U.S. Air Force in the Vietnam War. That had to be very difficult for him, but I could only imagine.
Yeah. He started off as a Vietnam Air Force, and then they were recruiting Vietnamese soldiers to come fight for the U.S., and he wanted to learn English. He found it to be a great opportunity, and so he transferred over here in the U.S. to help fight against
That's
Vietnam
amazing.
during that time.
Sounds like a whole different show altogether, but I'm just trying to imagine that. And, you know, getting to know you a little bit, you describe this double life.
Yes.
Walk us through what you mean by that, growing up in the culture, and what is this double life that you're referring to?
Well, the double life is my parents came over here feeling that the U.S. is full of opportunities, and it's a lot of opportunities. There's no communism, no restriction. And so when they had my brother and I, it was enforced that you must take up every opportunity. So we became these perfect children. But I was raised in Alief, and Alief had its rough edges. And with its rough edges, I felt like I had to survive. And so being the straight A student, the jock, being in all the clubs you can imagine in school, I also had to learn how to survive on the streets. There was a lot of exposures to gangs, drugs, and just violence all around. And I lived both lives. It's like in school, you were the perfect child, but the minute you stepped out of school, it became unsafe. And unfortunately, both of my parents worked really hard. They worked all day and night. And so they weren't with us most of the time. And so, children, we don't have our parents. We like to kind of scrap around outside a little bit. So
that's the
both
double
lives.
life.
I would have loved to have met your mom and dad. Are they still alive?
Yeah, they are still alive.
I would love to meet them because it just intrigues me, and I admire them so much from coming from somewhere else and making it here. And you know what? He's one of the ones my hat's off to, because we have freedom because of him.
Yeah.
We are free because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. And then the fights, literally. But this double life, this idea of, you say double life, most people don't live the double life. They pick one.
Yes.
And they're either the gangbangers, but you said, I'm going to do both. You're a straight A student, and then you're going to live this street life. The fact that you could even do that is obviously impressive. So you're trying to juggle these things. Did your parents have any idea? It sounds like they were busy surviving their own fight.
And they were busy surviving. So in 5th grade, that's when it started. My parents didn't know what was going on until I was 17 years old, right around junior. I started missing class and I wasn't coming home. So they found I was missing. I wanted to be the perfect child because I wanted to relieve the pressure off of them. But that's when they started noticing the problems. The schools were calling them, and then it was time for me to leave Houston. My mother's like, you need to go somewhere safe.
Wow, there's too much pressure. No, I've been studying it.
I got to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I got to interrupt you. So they saw that it wasn't safe for you at that time.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I caught that.
Yeah.
I work with gangs through my boxing gym and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about that life. I know you can't go into detail. Most likely you can't. Tell us what you can.
Well, due to
What suckered you into it?
what suckered into it? Well, their absence. Their absence left me roaming around the streets quite a bit, and I wanted attention. And I lived underneath the high pressure, always, the straight A student had to be academically studious. And being around that violence, it just became part of me. I saw it a lot in school.
Became normal.
It became normal. It was absolutely normal.
And there was more violence there than people realize in that school district.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
It
I used to
was a
speak
lot.
there. And there was a whole bunch out there.
Yeah.
It was this great school district, but there was lots of violence and lots of gangs.
A lot of gangs.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of gangs. I got affiliated with gangs that made me felt like I was part of a family when my parents were really busy. And, so my mother felt like it was no longer safe because I was getting heavily influenced and she didn't want me to screw up my education, my academics. And so eventually she moved me up into Michigan, and that's when I got molested. Yeah. So unfortunately,
So I'm gonna dig down. So how old were you when that happened?
17.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 17. It was a family member. It's someone I barely even know, but I was sent over there to protect my influence, and unfortunately, that traumatized me. That traumatized me too as well. And then so ran off, came back to Texas, and then just jumping from home to finish out my school. So I was on gear to be in survival mode then.
I guess just thinking of the irony of it all, your parents obviously are trying to take you out of one environment to protect you.
Yes.
Put you in one environment that ended up hurting you even more than the environment they're trying to protect you from.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just hard to fathom.
Yeah.
And then living that, you said then you came back to Texas?
I came back to Texas. I ended up graduating Stafford High School. I don't know if you know where Stafford is.
I
It's
do.
near Fort Bend. I graduated within 3 months, still with magna cum laude. I mean, my scores were just
Wow.
always
Wow.
So
high rocket.
you were able to maintain all this.
Yeah, and then from there I jumped from home to home, and then that's when the street life got really heavy. By the time I turned 18, I was whatever you can imagine on the streets. That's what I did, and I just wanted safety, and to me, I equivalated safety as power, which was not correct. So I thought I'd affiliate with gang leaders, thinking that was going to be my top protection. I learned a lot. And so that led me to dealing drugs and getting involved with fights and gangs and just typical gang-related stuff and just roaming the streets. I had a lot of anger inside of me. I think that was one of my outlets. And so I diffused that into alcohol and drugs for a while too as well. Yeah.
What drove you to be so focused on school? Because when you hear, I want to say most people, I haven't heard most people's stories, but when most people go down that path of gangs and different violence, school is not even, it's not even there. And
Yeah.
here you are graduating magna cum laude. What drove you to put that pressure on yourself? Did you want to achieve that? Like, why were you putting
Was
that
it your
pressure?
parents?
It was my parents. They were like valedictorian all the time, and I couldn't understand it. But school was very easy. It was just plain academics. All you have to do is just follow and do the work.
Yeah.
And it was a system I truly understood. It was like brushing your teeth. It was never challenging for me at all.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so that was just a skill
I had
set
that problem.
developed.
No, I didn't.
But I enjoy the excitement of the risk of the street life. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. And I think the one thing I've learned a lot is, you hear the judgment that, people living off the streets are really bad people. It's not true. It's just people who have just made poor choices. So my empathy was always there for everyone, trying to prove everyone that, no, they're really good people. They're just, making poor choices along the way. And I got sucked in it pretty hard to the point they were taking advantage of me as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Let's stop there for, let's close this round one.
Okay.
We're going to ring the bell.
Okay.
And that's going to close round one. And then now we're going to take a little moment from our sponsors, and then we will be right back. Go ahead.
Okay. All right.
Bring us back.
All right. So welcome back to In the Ring with Termite and Mr. S. It's getting good.
We're going to continue on, obviously just kind of touching on how you've started into this life. And we're looking at, trying to put your story into some sort of timeline for just the listener's sake. What would you say now? Would you call this like the responsibility/chaos phase? If you're moving into the next phase of your life, walk us through. Now you've come back, you're doing the street life, you're doing the double life. What are the next, phases and challenges at this point?
I was trying everything, and I made a choice, and I got pregnant. And being pregnant completely changed my perspective, because at that point, I had something to live for. First, it was just me, and
You were 17?
I was
18?
pregnant at 20.
20, okay.
And I did lose a child, and then I got pregnant again at 21, and that one came to full term. I had to change my life at that time. And being Asian, it's a huge taboo to be pregnant without any marriage. So it's a disgrace to a family. So at that
Was
point,
your family hard on you?
they were.
Yeah,
and
your
it's
mom, yeah.
understandable now. I've traveled back to the country, and I understand why they're so hard. But there was some family disowning. And then I didn't want to be affiliated with the gang members because I didn't want them to judge my child that was coming. But life changed when I got pregnant, and there were no options to go back to the streets, even though I meddled with it a little bit for fast money. But I had to put myself through school. I was at University of Houston. I got suspended for a while before I got pregnant. Then when I got pregnant, I was like, I got to change my story around. So I went to community college, picked up my GPA, went back to the university. But I was living from home to home. I got, sexually harassed by a lot of guys. And so I didn't want to depend on any more friends. So I decided to live out of my car. And I lived out of my car while I was pregnant. I didn't want to put any shame on my parents, so I didn't want to go home.
And in the Asian culture, your parents are probably hard,
They were.
real hard.
They were really hard.
Yeah.
And I think they were just going through conflicts trying to understand the American culture. It's very different from the Asian culture, and especially coming from trauma where they were coming from with the communism. Yeah, so that was just a huge conflict for almost all my life, trying to understand where they were coming from.
I think we need more of the parents getting hard, personally. I really do. I think that we were talking about this just today. And this past week, parenting is not parenting anymore. They're being best buddies with their kids, and me personally, and I may step on toes here. I hope I'm not, making anybody mad, but as parents, we're parents. We're not our kids' best friends.
Yeah.
And we need to quit trying to be their best friend.
Yeah.
Just be, we need to be parents and be good parents. And good parents are hard, like yours were hard. And we need that, I think. I probably made a lot of people out there mad, but
It happens.
So what?
Going through all this, was there like a moment where you thought, hey, I might not make this? What made you want to change? Because you made the comment of, I was pregnant and I had to change. That's a choice that you made that I don't think everybody makes. Some people just, all right, I'm pregnant, and they end up just, raising a child in complete chaos, and kind of the cycle repeats. Something in you said, I want to break this cycle.
Yeah. So I've noticed my life was challenging, and unfortunately my parents couldn't really understand the culture conflicts that I was going through, and a lot of pressure. So as I saw myself, I was innocent. I was an innocent child being bred into this environment, and I had to find my own way. So when I got pregnant with my son, I realized this is a child that's coming in very clean and innocent. I had to do everything to protect him because I never felt like I was protected. And so that's when the course changed. I was really fueled by that, and I was very inspired. And since then, that's the reason why I've been working with a lot of nonprofits with children who has been neglected and abused and gone through a lot of poverty.
We'll come back to this, but tell them real quick some of the nonprofits you do work with, and then we'll come back to...
Well, after I had my first child, I swore to myself that I was going to work with nonprofits and give back to the community, because the community has helped me when I had raised my children. And so I work mainly with children in schools that doesn't have good sport facility. I'm very heavy into sports. So I facilitate and I develop playgrounds, and then also I mentor children. So right now I'm working with Hope's Path for aged out foster boys who've never been adopted. They're either never been adopted or they're homeless. And so I use my combat skills sports to help them tunnel their anger to a different venue that's a lot more productive, because I had to learn how to take my methods of fighting in the street into something a lot more productive now. Yeah.
But it's that fighter mentality that you've just developed to just survive. And it's like you're aware of the energy and you need to just turn it into something positive. And it seems like you're wanting to bring that. That's a lot of what you're doing, is bringing that to other people to help them fight their own.
Yes. I wanted to stay out of jail. Because if I just kept fighting at the route that I was doing back then, I would have been in jail. There would be no mother for my children.
Did you recognize that at the time, or is this you looking back?
I recognized it when I had my first son. I got myself into quite a bit of trouble when my first son was born. I was like, I've got to stop this route.
Trouble like drugs and trouble?
I was affiliated with the wrong people at the wrong time. So I didn't want to get caught behind bars. And so I had to take that anger and channel it to something a lot more productive. So I started competition and started training.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's ring the bell to go to round 3. And that's kind of more on your son. And he was in the NICU, is what you were saying.
That was probably the most heartbreaking part of my life. My son he was already sick with pneumonia. And then his immune system dropped. He was about 10 years old, and I was a young mother. I didn't take him to the doctor. That was my irresponsibility. I was handling work and just kind of scatterbrained at a young age. Then my son had what is called meningoencephalitis. And so meningeo is obviously in the spine, and encephalitis is an infection to the brain. So my son was in NICU for 4 weeks, and he couldn't breathe on his own. So they intubated him and life flighted him from Clear Lake all the way to Children's Hospital and the medical center. And that was a glimpse that I could have lost my son. And living at NICU every single day, hearing the news for other parents that they lost their child was devastating. So I had to live through that for 4 weeks. And unfortunately, it was a virus, so you can't really do anything about it. You got to let the virus take its course.
Right.
It taught me a lot of patience, but it also taught me that I had to surrender. And this is when God came in a huge play for me. You just have to surrender and have faith. And it turned over finally by the 3rd week. I started seeing some glimpse of hope, but I had to go through that process with my son. So that was the hardest part of my life.
Isn't it amazing that going through these processes and how it can actually bring us closer to the Lord? Isn't it incredible?
If you let it.
If you let it.
If you
That's
let
right,
it,
if you
yeah.
let it.
Is that something you had growing up, the faith? Or is that something you found?
I've always had faith. I was brought up as a Catholic, and unfortunately, I didn't really understand it very much when I was young. But when I was homeless with my first child being pregnant, faith came in really strong. But it came in even stronger in that time of need. And I do my best to always pray and have faith, even when you're not in the time of need. It's a matter of discipline and just keeping it alive throughout.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So at this point in your life, I'm trying to paint the picture for everybody else listening. You're not only a mother with a child in NICU, you're going to school. I don't know if we mentioned that part.
Yes.
You're going to school at the same time.
And passing with flying colors.
Yeah, so I decided to put myself through college, and then I was working 3 jobs at the time, and I ended up having more kids. So, like, I'm up to 4 kids now as a single mother, and I've always been very protective. It's like, I don't want to get married, because I didn't want anything happen to them like what had happened
What
to
you
me.
experienced.
So I was very protective of them. That's the reason why I intended to never get married. I figured if I can do this on my own, then I'm just going to keep this route. But yes, putting myself into college helped stabilize me. I can get a little sporadic, very chaotic. I want excitement. But
You need to be busy. It's you're just like, man,
Yeah.
keep yourself out of trouble by staying busy.
So I went to school, and then eventually I wanted to challenge myself a lot more, and ended up putting myself through a master's degree in architecture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
How long did that take you? I mean, that takes most people, 6 years or so?
It was 5 years for dual major. I had a finance and marketing, and then 3 more years because I transferred completely out of a different realm into architecture. So 8 years of school.
So, I mean,
Now,
this
how old
pretty
were you at
condensed.
this time when you went to school?
I graduated architecture school in 2010, so I did have a break in between. Yeah.
And I know I'm missing something here because at some point in time you were in the beauty pageant. There's just so much I'm trying to get in here, all the different things you were involved in.
Yes, I got into the beauty pageant. I was working very heavy with children at the time, so I was working with nonprofits. And then a director, I asked the director, hey, let me find a way to help these young ladies. She's like, you should be in the beauty pageant. I said, I cannot even walk in 4-inch heels nor put makeup. And then before you knew it, I gave it a try, and I ended up being Miss Sugarland for United States. And then I took another hit, and I ended up being Miss Texas. Miss Texas International, and then eventually after that, I became Miss Vietnam. And it was a pandemic, so they allowed me to take up the Vietnam role because I was full-blooded Vietnamese. And I learned a lot being a woman. It was amazing being surrounded by these empowering females who are absolutely stunning and beautiful. And on the inside, they help the community, highly educated, and if they have a lot of poise and a lot of presentation in the public eye.
And so you're doing that, and I'm trying to put the timeline. You're not living in your car at this point.
No, not
Okay, so
anymore.
it's like-
Not anymore. It took about a couple of months while I was in college with my son. And then by the time I had my son, I was able to put myself through an apartment at that time. Yeah, no more car living when my son came about.
And so when you were doing the beauty pageants, you now have 4 children. But at this time, was it just your only son at that moment?
No, I had 3 children at that time when I was doing the beauty pageants.
Wow.
Wow.
And going to school.
Yeah.
3 children.
Man, a lot of people have a hard time with time management. I think you should help some folks with that since you're doing all this. Some people can't do it with 1 kid or no kids, so that's impressive.
Where'd you get the drive? Because a lot of people just wear out.
I don't know how to stay still. My mother has always, when I was a young child, I had to go to piano, I had to go combat fighting, I had to go softball. I mean, it was instilled in me since I was 8 years old. So my mother always believed the busier you were, the less trouble you'll get into. But I always found a way to get in trouble.
Now, the combat sports, let's talk about that for a second. It was boxing.
I got into boxing very heavy. I think I've been in the industry for about 15 years now, but I've always been a martial artist, from kickboxing to Shaolin Kung Fu and karate. And then boxing just kind of, it bled into me in a very healthy way. Yeah.
And then the shooting, you do
I'm a shooting competitor
sharpshooter?
now. Yes, I was the shooting came about because there was some domestic violence, and I had PTSD. And so I don't do well with loud noises or gunfires and just loud men's voice. And so I decided to get into a competition to face my fears, because that's what my therapist said. You need to not turn your back on it. You need to move forward and know you're always going to have a different result. So I did my competition. Before you knew it, I was one of the fastest runners, because I've been a triathlete for 20 years now. But I couldn't shoot. I couldn't shoot. And I was like, I'm going to keep doing this. And before you know, I fell in love with the camaraderie of all the veterans and the first responders there. And I became the top shooter for about 2 years in Texas. So it's called Gun and Run. So I run between 5 miles to 20 miles in about 12-hour span. And I shoot out to 800 yards with a pistol and AR. So it's a lot of high
800
pressure.
yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you get your AR set up right. And yeah, it teaches you how to resonate with your breathing. And to get you very hyper-focused and to not be shunned by the loud noises and the high pressure. Yeah. So it was a necessity in my life.
Rewind on that one part you're saying. There's a lot of debate nowadays whenever something bothers somebody to PTSD, and you're talking about loud noises and the different things. A lot of folks want to avoid whatever things are causing their anxiety or hurting them. There's this perception of, let me just get that out of my life. I want peace. You took a different approach. You said, this is bothering me, it's giving me anxiety. I'm not going to let it, and I'm just going to expose myself to it. Yeah. That's a whole different, it's different concept. Is that something that something inside of you, or did anybody advise you on that?
Well, with the PTSD, it was because of my therapist's help. If it wasn't for his help, I probably wouldn't have faced it. I would have turned my back on it. I have a tendency to just kind of avoid things. But when it comes to fears in sports, I always face it to challenge and push that limit.
You like that competition.
Mm-hmm.
So he nudged you with the competition element.
Yeah.
Because you're very competitive.
Yeah.
So that's all it took. Just make it a little competitive and say, I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, we're going to go to our next break. We'll ring the bell on that one. And after these messages from a sponsor, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to In the Ring with Termite and Mr. S. Mr. S, as the old saying, is getting gooder.
It's getting gooder. Man, it's hard for me. I've got so much on my notes here, and your story is just so rich of things, and I'm trying to tie it all in. So now you've gone through...
Well, you're 3 kids at this time. You've been through hell and back, in many ways of saying it. But you've overcome, and that's what we love about our show. It's about overcoming. We were talking a while ago. Where'd you get the drive? I think some people just have it, and I'm sure your parents were strong with the drive. But I think that's something that people are just born with, or they're not.
I don't want to put it that way, because if people don't have it, then they're going to feel hopeless, like they don't have it.
Well, they need to get to work.
I do believe it is, people are more inclined to it, and it could be brought out.
Yeah.
But some people, I think it comes more natural than others. I think from what I'm seeing culturally, I've been reading different cultures, and Asian cultures it's different than some American cultures. And I think a lot of that shapes just the drive. Almost like, I don't want to hear you complaining, just do this. And you learn that, and obviously it can good come out of that. Yes, there's the pressure, then we could talk about the bad. So there's always good and bad and everything. But I guess comment more on the different cultures, because you were raised in an American culture, your family, and your parents from the Asian culture, communism. Did you see surfaces of that, or were your parents gone so much that you didn't really feel those two different worlds?
It was very different. My mother and my father never trusted banks. So in Vietnam, the communism owns everything. And so I couldn't understand why they wouldn't put money in their banks at all. And here we are living between these steel bars on windows. I don't know if you've seen it. And it's to keep the burglars out, right? And so, unfortunately, it was really traumatic for me, because it was a Vietnamese person that robbed our house not once, multiple times. Vietnamese people know that Vietnamese people hold money in the house. We don't trust the bank at all. But it was devastating to see our own people to rob
Take advantage of what they knew.
Yeah, and it created a lot of fear. And then, of course, they don't want to call the police. They don't want to call the police because police is owned by communism back in their country, right? But here in the U.S., it's very different. So they don't trust anyone, and so we don't report. So if you ever look at the news, we're never on the news. We don't report.
Interesting.
That's true.
Yeah, we don't. We stay in silence because they have fear. They have fear. They don't trust even the government or the first responders at all because of what the trauma they have had back in Vietnam.
Right.
So it was really hard, but it's always work, family. Family is the most important thing. So we've always stayed together thick and thin. In American culture, it's a little different. It's a little bit laissez-faire. It's
Yeah.
laissez-faire.
And you get to pick the best of both worlds because
Yeah.
you've seen the best.
You do, yeah. So being a parent now, I get to adjust and see what worked and what didn't work. But as a parent, you understand that each child is different regardless of what culture. So you tune in per child. And you can't have one method for all 4 kids.
Right.
And you
They're
did
all
this as
different.
a single mother. You speak a lot about the protection. Obviously, that's really big with you, your sports. So raising your kids in this, I guess, picking the best of both cultures. I guess walk us through any advice you have. You know, there's a lot of single parents out there that
Yeah.
maybe are struggling, that feel like they just can't do it. And you've raised several kids, went to school. I guess give some encouragement to some single parents out there.
So as a single parent, keep it real simple. Make sure you have a shelter and you can put food on the table. It's really simple. That's all it is. That was my motivation. That was part of the reason why I went to architecture school. I figured that, you know, if I'm going to live out a cardboard box, I'm going to make sure it's going to be a pretty one too. So I went to architecture school. But I figured, you know, as long as I have my family and I can find water and I can find food, it could be something real simple. Just keep it really simple and just find shelter somehow. The one thing I had that was not good for me was pride. There's a lot of pride, and that was something that was instilled in me from my parents.
The Asian culture, there's
So
a
you
lot,
don't
yeah.
take any help. And not taking any help hurt me a lot. And so eventually when I went to the hospital, there were a lot of nonprofit organizations that helped us. And so that was something I took up, and that's the reason why I give back, is to cut the pride, do what you need, keep it really simple, leave out the entitlement, and just keep pursuing each day. Each day is a discipline. So as long as you manage to succeed one day, make sure you repeat it, and eventually it'll get easier. Many of us have a lot of expectations. We have visions, but it's just showing up one day at a time.
One day at a time is, you know, one step at a time. And if there's people out there, you can learn from this. You know, number one, don't give up. Never give up. You didn't. Even when you got knocked down, you got up.
Yeah.
And you turn, you know, we always say in boxing that the times you get knocked down is where you learn, and you lose is where you learn the most. And that's the same way with you in life. You learn the most through your times that you've been down, and look at you. You've come back and you've done incredible. Incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to absorb it all, and definitely the single parent with what you've accomplished. There's many people that feel like they just can't do it. And I think simplifying, I like that. It's just zoom back down to the basics. Just provide them with the basics, and don't get overwhelmed. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
Just take one day at a time, but have a goal. I think is another part that I would add in there. You weren't just surviving day to day. You were slowing down, but you knew where you were going. You had somewhere you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
I think that's something that maybe subconsciously drove you. And I don't know if everybody has that.
Yeah.
And it's something, how do you instill that?
Sometimes goals can seem a little overwhelming because it's a far reach sometimes, and you got to take all those little steps to get there. So anxieties and fears kicks in really hard. And so doing a lot of competition taught me to overcome a lot of fears. And so fear is just an illusion. It's an illusion. As long as you have one breath, you could take one step forward. So I try to be very conscious of not setting extreme goals. It's the reason
Realistic.
why. Yeah, be very realistic so you can create some confidence over time and know you can overcome it. But fear is your limitation.
Yeah.
It is definitely a limitation, and it's a constant reminder. It's just anxieties of the future you have no control of. You got to live in the present moment. Even to this day, I'm still trying to live in the present moment. Yeah,
So recognizing fears, finding ways to get over those. Is that something you draw back when you go way back to your street days? What gave you that, I guess, internal recognition of, hey, this is a fear. This isn't real, because that's very difficult to even recognize most of the time.
Well, one of the first fear was I was in a triathlon race, and I thought I was going to drown. It was my first race, was Olympic distance. I had to swim a whole mile. Wow. And when I got in the water, there were snakes, and it was completely dark, so I couldn't see anything. So it was just clouded. And I'm like, I have serious fear. So I was like, I'm not going to make it through the swim if I don't find a way. So I flipped on my back, and I decided to look at the sky. I never looked at the water. Figure if I don't want to look at the water, I don't have to. So I finished that swim. And then since then, I was like, I'm going to keep overcoming. It became an addiction for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always ways to find
The addiction side. I like that.
I have a business card that says you can always find a way. Mm-hmm. And it's one of my favorite sayings.
Love that saying.
Yeah.
We've actually got a poster with you on in
that's
there
right.
with that. Love it.
Yeah. And we can. You know, I know I'm jumping around, but I want to go back to something.
Let's do that, but let's take a break. We're
Let's
at our break spot, and let's ring the bell, and let's come back. All right, and let's go ahead, and we're now back, and we're going to finish the rest of this segment.
All right, so you helped design, or you did design, the Lone Star Flight Museum. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that, because I love stuff when it deals with flights and airplanes. And
Well, it was a museum that was out in Galveston. It got flooded. I don't remember exactly which hurricane. They had to move the museum into town. So they moved it near NASA in Ellington Field. I was pregnant at the time. I remember being pregnant, drawing it. It was about a 3-year process. And it was a huge honor because my father's a pilot, and he loves planes. It's 2 hangar, and a museum in between is about 135,000 square feet. So, yeah, that was one of the best projects I've ever done.
When did they finish it?
That's a really good question. I want to say about 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was Harvey Construction that finished the construction.
Very cool
Yeah.
to go see that.
yeah.
So now at this stage in your life, I'm going to call this, you've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
Now let's get to your legacy, and this is where you're wanting to give back.
Yeah.
And you say you mentor different folks. Tell us again about the different charities or the organizations you're involved in, and the different focuses of each one of these, and how that ties into your life so far.
Okay. So, yes, it is giving back. After my first child was born, I started working with a lot of nonprofits. And then now I work with aged out foster boys. I've always wanted to adopt, and they're like, you should work out, with boys who never got adopted. And I figured there could be a connection. So there's a lot of violence and abuse and neglect that they come from. Yeah. So the executive director, he's like, you can help them channel through your combat fighting and your shooting, because they're all attracted to guns and fighting. And then not only that, I came from street life, so they were able to connect with
Some credibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so now I mentor them. I'm on the board right now to help the board understand what it's like when you're coming from the streets and coming into an institution like this. Because even I didn't want to be in an institution when I was homeless. I chose to sleep out of a car. There's a lot of rebellion and a lot of emotional trauma that they're going through. Yeah. So that is my focus right now, is working with aged out foster boys. And hopefully I get to work out with aged out foster girls, because that's another set of problems. Yeah. Because now you have children, pregnant young females, and those who probably have been.
When do they age out?
At the age of 17.
17,
yeah, age
they're
of 17.
you're on your own.
You're on your own, and you're homeless if you're not adopted.
Yeah. We had some, as you well know, the boxing gym, because you're a major part of it. But we have a foster family, and I think there was 6 boys or whatever, and it's really sad that they don't get picked up, because these were fine young men. Yeah. If there was parents out there that wanted to bring a young man into their life, how would they go about doing it? Is there any sites they can go through to? Is it?
Well, the first thing I know is 211. That's like your helpline here in the city, right? So otherwise, the next mission is to go through churches. I think churches are very effective, and they will always find a link or connection. And then you can Google it. But 211 is the best way to get help, and then definitely through any churches. And they're open doors to anybody. You don't have to be Catholic. You don't have to be Baptist. You just go in asking for help.
Right. Mm-hmm. Incredible.
Now, when you're helping these young men, I think you're not involved with the ladies yet. What is if there is one thing, what kind of mind shift, like how, besides the credibility of what you've been through and they're listening to you, when you have somebody's attention, Is there anything specific that you're trying to impart to them? If I can just get them to see this, then their life will change.
Yeah. So one of the hardest things with mentoring is consistency. People don't trust.
yeah.
They don't trust. After they've already been traumatized, they don't trust. So even as a parent, you must be consistent with your discipline and how you associate with them. So showing up every single time where they can actually predict that you're going to be there is going to start making them feel safe. And once they feel safe, then they can start enhancing the other aspects of their life, unless they've already been goal-oriented. Most of them are not. They have no sense of direction.
Pretty
They're
rare.
really young.
Nobody to help them.
Yeah, they're so young. They're in their early 20s. They're just scouting for anything at that point. But safetyness is what you have to give them, and so consistency is the answer, and genuineness. Young men have told me that a lot of people will come in and help and they're not genuine. It's like cutting a check and they just leave, and they don't value that at all. The only thing they value is emotional support and consistency, and for you to show up whenever they want you.
We have a young man at the boxing gym that he went through with this foster family, and he's one of our big success stories because he went through it. His grades were like a 10, a 6, a 12 when he came into the boxing gym, and we got him help. And they helped him. I can't say mentor because we don't have mentors, but we helped him with his school. With just a little bit of help, he went up to all A's and B's and 1C.
That's good.
And then he comes by the gym now. I mean, at 17, I think they give him a $100 bill, and he was out on his own. I remember him calling and saying, "What'd I do?"
Yeah.
And we got to play a little part in his life. And now he's got 3 kids. He's married. When he comes into town, he'll go to church with us, and because we get him to go to church with us. And one of the greatest success stories that I've ever been affiliated with was this young man.
Yeah.
Being able to be a part of helping him.
Changing lives.
There's people out there that maybe God's laid it on your heart to help somebody. There's all kinds of young men that need help, and you can the ones that she's told you 2 for 1 or what
211.
211 211. You can call our boxing gym, Fighter Nation Boxing Gym. We'll help you find somebody if you want to help somebody. And there's a lot of young men that are just craving somebody to reach out and help.
Well, I'm getting the signal that we are going to ring the bell to our final round to wrap this up. And this is where you're coming down to legacy. What do you want to be remembered for? What would be advice to your younger self? Let's start there.
My advice to myself is
Your younger self. Like if you can go back and whisper in your own ear, what would that be?
live in the present moment and make sure you make good choices at that moment. It's going to build up over time. And then the other thing is fear is just an illusion. Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
How do you drive that home? How do you drive that home? Because that is a very big one. Fear is so real
Yeah.
to people. I mean, it's biological. People's heart rate is. How do you get to the point where you can convince yourself that this is not real?
Well, for one, it's emotions. And emotions, it just ride with waves. And it's an illusion because we've created it. Because sometimes I have to take a pause and find out what caused it. And then, I don't know, it's just an illusion. And sometimes it comes from trauma, and it makes you ask why, where did it come from? And there are things that our wounds haven't been healed, and it
Right.
opens up even more. Yeah. So,
And the wounds, there has to be a healing part somewhere.
yeah.
To go, I believe, to take that next step in life, you get some way or another, you've got to be healed.
Yeah.
And you talk a lot about surviving versus thriving.
Yes.
How do you personally kind of check yourself for that on a daily basis? How do you make sure you're not getting stuck in survival mode?
Survival mode. I've done that almost all my life, and it's been part of me. When I'm anxious, I'm in survival mode. And when I'm thriving, I'm not in survival mode. I'm enjoying life. It's very different. And it's a very hard boundary to distinguish because I am just now getting into thriving mode. Unless I'm lost somewhere, like I'll go in the woods and I'm thriving in the woods because it's no longer survival mode. But it's very hard thing to distinguish. And usually anxieties and fears is what shows up and tells me where I'm at.
But anxiety and fears, one thing, if you're out there, you can overcome it. You know, that you can overcome everything. And I have a family member that struggles with anxiety and fears, and you can overcome it.
Is there any lie that people might believe about you that you would love to to correct and
You
say,
know-
hey, people think this about me, but it's not true?
You know, the funny thing is they see me as this, pristine lady, and they're like, and I'm like, I can kick your ass. Not only that, I could shoot you at 800 yards.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah, so like I have combat fight, and then nobody else. I mean, a lot of people see me in school and they have no idea that I lived off the streets for so long, and then I have people who are, gang members, and had no idea I was academically studious. It's just a facade, just trying to fit in. There's no need for me to tell my story unless you ask. So there's a lot of misconception no matter where I go. But yes, I can kick people's ass and I can shoot them too.
And then shoot you if it doesn't work. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we got one more. I'm going to say, if we're going to wrap this up, unless you got a better idea, Termite, what does winning the fight mean to you today? What does winning mean today?
Winning for me is definitely appreciating life and knowing that I've created bond with people. That is winning for me. Every time I feel better connecting with someone, and that's growth for me, because that's been the hardest thing, is living alone and trying to survive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mr. S, I think we should end it, but I think we should have her back.
Definitely, because I didn't scratch the surface on some. I was trying to stick my own
Would you
program.
come back?
Oh, of course.
Would you? Because you're helping people. You're helping me. I mean, you're making me go back into my life and say, wow, what if? And that's what we want, is we want people to benefit out of this. And so I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay.
Okay? And you got to come back. And you got to bring your daughter with you. And what a sweetheart. She's
Thank you.
sweet and beautiful. And we're so glad. Look at that face. All right.
Well, let's wrap it up. We do end all of our shows that life is a big fight. We're in the ring of our own life, the proverbial fight. And you got to keep your guard up because things come at you. So look in your own camera and just tell them to keep your guard up.
We put our guard up. Keep your guard up.